Honestly, Laurel, who hasn't eaten a ship full of sailors?
I do like a boatload of semen every now and then. Hello, and welcome to First Bite. This is a campy vampire dating sim in which you stumble upon 3 very sexy vampires one night. Let's get started. I'm so excited to finally do a playthrough of this. I first played this a couple years ago on my stream and made a lot of TikToks out of it. And I think that's where most of us met. Nothing but darkness surrounds me. I close my eyes, desperately trying to blink it away, but there's just nothingness. A void. I'm alone. Where am I? What am I doing here? How did I even get here? I try moving my legs. Nothing. As hard as I try to run away, my body refuses to cooperate. I try my arms next. Frozen. Before I can try anything else, a light appears in the distance. There's something else flickering right next to that light. I can barely make it out, but what little I can see is horrifying. Glowing red eyes, bright white fangs, blood dripping from sharp talons. In an instant they multiply, dancing around in the shadows. They laugh, a cacophony of demonic giggles, and then skitter towards me at an inhuman speed. Their movements chaotic. I'm helpless as they close in around me. An aroma of metallic sweetness infiltrates my nostrils and I'm surrounded, trapped. And then they pounce, claws tearing deep into my muscles as they grab a hold of me, teeth sinking into my flesh. I try to scream but no sound escapes. Part 1. Hunger. Oh look! There's the Alcahest poster here. Arcade Spirits. Akash. Path of the 5, and When the Night Comes. I'm very, very happy. So my friends made this game, and they also made these amazing games on the wall. I'm just so proud of them. My eyes jolt open as I wake up in a cold sweat. It was a dream. Just a dream. Or closer to a nightmare? Depends how you feel about getting torn apart by vampires, I guess. My heart feels like it's about to burst out of my chest as my mind races over the lingering memory of what I saw. I quickly scan my surroundings to make sure I'm actually in my room. And also alive. Everything is in its rightful place, and my laptop is asking me if I'd like to continue watching Death of the Dead. At this point, I should know better than to fall asleep watching horror movies, but I was lured in at the prospect of 2 hot characters kissing, and I just rested my eyes for a little too long. Nope. Some ridiculous part of my brain holds a kernel of hope that one day I'll enter a deliciously dark world of the unknown and unexplainable, but for now, I'm stuck here. Even my dreams won't let me near what I want. And now these thoughts are once again racing through my mind. I know it's absolutely fruitless to try and fall back asleep, but I try nonetheless. I go through every trick in the book, breathing exercises, counting sheep, writing erotic fanfiction in my head, decidedly unhelpful. Surprise, surprise, I'm still awake, and blankly staring at my ceiling. Great job, me. I sigh, pushing the covers off my body. There's no point staying in bed. I grab my phone from my bedside table, bracing myself as I check the time. 3 a.m! Once again, my body has betrayed me by falling into this disgusting, habitual cycle. Have a nightmare, wake up, stay awake, rinse, repeat. Defeated, I yawn and stretch my bones as I stand, and I make my way to my bedroom mirror. I drag my fingers down my cheeks and glare at my reflection, illuminated by the dangling fairy lights. What's your first name? Yinny. Last name? Winters. Pronouns? She, her. Eye color? Brown. I take a deep breath. I'm Yinny Winters, and I'm gonna have a good night. If only my therapist could see me now. A positive affirmation to start my... Wait, is it night? Morning? The time between times? Normally when this disjointed sleeping pattern curses me, I either read my old collection of goose flesh books for the 100th time or write for my website. The singularly most interesting thing about me is that I have cradled and nurtured a cryptid blog to a nice level of internet fame. Ghostin is my main source of serotonin, and started out as a tiny forum, an avenue to find and cultivate friendships with those that love the strange and unusual as much as I do. It still serves the same purpose now, but on a larger scale. Mingling still happens and the original forums are as active as ever, but I had to get creative and produce different types of content in order to keep myself afloat in this economy. My review of Where Are the Werewolves goes up later today, and I also need to upload that How to Attract Bigfoot video. The crown jewel of Ghostin is also overdue for an update. It's an erotica section lovingly dubbed the Cryptid Coitus Corner, and it surprised me to see it become the most popular part of the website. I'll admit, I'm no Bill Shakespeare, but it warms my heart to see people coming back for my wide and varied selection of supernatural erotica. Who knew that horny horror was like catnip to people all over the world, and not just me. I mean, yeah, all over the world, like all of us watching this channel right now. Unfortunately, I'm stuck on my latest would-be masterpiece, and all I have is a potentially questionable title, Mummy Milkers. It's a work in progress. I'll figure all that out later and update Cryptid Coitus Corner when inspiration hits. I lazily scan my room, trying to hit that motivation jackpot when I pause on my window. The moon is full and bright against the starless sky, an excellent setting for some ominous entertainment. Maybe I need to get out, go for a walk, see what early morning Portland offers me. There's enough weirdness happening during the day in the city, so I'm sure something's bled over into the twilight hours. With my mind made up, I mosey over to my closet. What does one wear for a witching hour stroll? All black, like myself, dressed to the nines. Comfort is key. I don't know, actually. I'm gonna go with comfort is key, just like now. I'm basically in my pajamas. It's the middle of the night, and I don't need fashion, but I demand comfort. I find the comfiest pants and the biggest sweatshirt I own and slide into them. Bliss. I pose in front of the mirror, blowing a kiss to Helloyinny. Looking good. I'm still a little abuzz with excitement as I gather my bearings. The most radical thing I've done lately is quit my grey-toned office job and pick up shifts at a local coffee shop to supplement the income from my website. It's comforting, knowing that there are others like me who have this undeniable attraction to the things that go bump in the night despite the monotony of my day-to-day. It's easier to exist when you blend in and squirrel away any untoward interest. It avoids awkward conversations, and no one's caught onto my deep dark secrets yet. There was a time where I felt that my desires of the supernatural were something to be ashamed of. Nah, never. And well, maybe they are in a polite society, but after I spent too much brain-rotting hours in the office cubicle, I decided I would lean into the delusion to bring some color back into my life. Most people don't see the value in that sort of thing, and that's fine, but I can't help it. Something about the occult excites me more than anything else. It's always been that way. I gave up trying to fight it a long time ago. I shake the thoughts from my head. It's no use thinking about that now. I have some inspiration to look for. I grab my phone, my wallet, and my house keys from my desk and give my room a once-over, making sure I'm not forgetting anything. And then with a final flash of some finger guns to my reflection in the mirror, I'm out. I don't ever interact with my reflection. Guys, look, an ominous red house. There can't be anything bad in there, right? It isn't long until I find myself standing outside the house. 6969 Dead End Drive. Hit 69. Nice. It's creepy and old, and no one actually knows who owns it, and right now, it's luring me in. Normally I pass by on my walk to the coffee shop, and during the day, give it no more than a fleeting thought. Maybe it's a desperation for a crumb of inspiration, but tonight, I'm intrigued. For years, I thought it was totally abandoned. The windows all covered with what looked like scraps of newspaper, but what gives me a pause is the front yard. It's too well kept. Those bushes don't tend to themselves. What bushes? Like every historic neighborhood, there's always that one house that has a particularly bad reputation, and this gothic beauty is it. I've heard all the stories. I count them on my fingers. Witches who eat children, an axe murderer who slaughtered their whole family, a pack of feral stray cats overthrowing the previous owner, a lycanthrope's hideout, and my personal favorite, vampires. I always thought it was a joke to scare away kids to stop them from playing on the lawn, but if only it were true. I find myself just standing there staring, tempted by the house and what might linger inside it, which isn't the smartest move. In October, in the Pacific Northwest. It's dark, I'm cold, it's also definitely about to rain. I should go in. The words fall out of my mouth and without thought, just pure impulse, succumbing to the mystery tugging at my curiosity. I shrug to myself and look around. No one's here to witness my petty crime of breaking and entering. Go into the thing. With my journalistic integrity intact, I will myself to stroll up to the house. The porch groans loudly in protest as I step on it, and my hand reaches out the front door. Oh, I apply gentle pressure, and the door swings open with a deliciously spooky, decidedly terrifying creak. That's not what I expected. Was it left ajar, just like that? I'm assuming Ilyas was the last person to come through the doors if he was so because only someone as careless as he would leave the door ajar. Damn, I was very prepared to use the lockpicking skills I picked up from the video games I played. I mean, I picked up 0 lockpicking skills. I'm also very bad at lockpicking in video games, which totally would have worked. As the door swings open, a light breeze flows from inside it. like someone forgot to close the fridge and let out the cold. I shiver against it, and then finally I hesitate. Should I really be adding trespasser to my resume? Yes? Am I actually doing this? Yes! Don't be a coward. What will my therapist say? She told me it would be a good idea for me to say yes to more things in my life. This is almost certainly what she was talking about. Listen, Yinny, you go into this house and you do it right now. Think of the possibilities. And if there are no corporeal beings, hopefully there will be a hot ghost that won't make me want to shit my pants. I push the door open a little more and squeeze inside. It's now or never. Once I get inside the house, my teeth start chattering. It's cold. Like, really freaking cold. Someone forgot heating exists. I think I'm in a small foyer, but it's hard to tell because without the soft glow of the moon outside, I can barely see my hand in front of my face. I pull out my phone, turn on the flashlight, and inspect my surroundings. As I shine my light around the room, I see this place appears to be lost in time. Nothing seems to have changed since at least the 1800s. Not the furniture, the wallpaper, or the smell. I inhale deeply and catch the scent of something pungent and putrescent, hidden deep within the normal old house musk. Unpleasant as it is, it's an aroma that intrigues the rest of my senses, beckoning me to find the rest of its secrets packed within these walls. At the end of the hall, I see a light sneaking through the crack of a half-open door. Whoever's here, if anyone at all, must be in there. I hold my breath as I listen intently for clues, and sure enough, there are the signs of life I craved. I hear what sounds like muffled conversation, and then a very clear "You!" I raise an eyebrow. Now this is something worth investigating. As I take another step, the floorboards creak loudly under my feet. Crap. I pause, silent as the grave and as still as a statue, and pray those muffled voices didn't hear me. There's a tense moment before the voice continues, and I release the breath I was holding. I pass a stealth check. Maybe. Continuing to sneak along the dark corridor, I creep closer and closer to the illuminated room. Then, I'm right outside the cracked door with my back against the wall. Now that I'm closer, I can hear them clearer. Three distinctly different dulcet tones echo into the hallway.
Do you smell that?
Everything goes deathly silent. Then,
It smells like human in here.
I freeze, instantly.
There it is again!
I fart when I'm nervous.
I keep telling you, it's your dirty cups piled in the sink. You're just as shit at doing dishes as you are playing cards.
At least when he sucks at cards, there's a chance he'll have to take his clothes off.
Every day the cups keep piling up and not a nipple in sight.
First of all, I'm good at everything. A warrior like me just can't waste his time on trivial things like cards and dishes. Gotta save my huge brain and muscles for more important things. Second,
I hear the sound of someone inhaling deeply.
my nose never lies. I smell human.
The speaker's words hit me like a thunderbolt. What had I been thinking? Skulking about in the hallway and eavesdropping on whoever lives here. Could be a troop of axe murderers for all I know.
Have we already forgotten the time your nose led us straight into that werewolf house party?
Somehow, despite the growing panic in my chest, the phrase werewolf house party makes me snort. I cover my mouth with my hand immediately, as though it might somehow take it back, but it's too late. Well. We might have company after all.
Go on, show yourself.
I can't describe the feeling, but it's like I'm being compelled to step from the darkness and into the light. My feet propel me forward of their own accord, carrying me around the corner as I resign myself to the fact that I've been caught. What I see when I enter the room jolts me right out of my numbness into a state of shock. Hey, oh my god, I miss them. I miss them so much. Uncontrollably, my heart skips a beat. 3 voices that I heard are matched by equally mesmerizing faces. They're so beautiful it almost hurts to look at them. And the look of their slightly perturbed yet also slightly intrigued expressions. I've clearly interrupted something. Using my big galaxy brain, I survey the situation and decide my next move. There's a mess of playing cards and glasses of red wine strewn across the table in front of them. The way they're holding their cards reminds me of an old spaghetti western right before there's a shootout in the saloon. The 3 of them stare at me in a way that makes me feel like ham ready for carving. None of them speak, they just evaluate me with this bizarre hunger in their gaze. I should say something to shatter this long, incredibly awkward pause. Listen, I know this looks bad, but the words are barely out of my mouth before they leap towards me at inhuman speed, knocking me onto my back, ayo, and pushing me down against the carpet. Hehe. The breath leaves my lungs and my hands burn as bare skin and textile collide.
See? I f***ing told you I smelled human. Never doubt me again.
Oh my god, I've missed them so much. Oh, Ilyas. No treat for you just for getting it right, Ilyas. Assuming we all want to call dibs, should we rock, paper, scissors for her?
Dibs? Really, Laurel? Can't we just share? We haven't done that in a while.
She is so hot. He is so hot. They're all so hot.
No, Valeria. As the oldest, smartest, and hottest, the human is mine by right.
His top's not even covering him. I feel like a piece of furniture out for an auction at the swap meet. Am I into that? I'm completely mesmerized by every hand movement, every turn of their lips, every glance in my direction as they bicker. My heart races and I can feel myself getting unnaturally hot despite the freezing temperature of the house.
Don't be greedy, Illy. Think of all the fun we could have.
That's all it is for you. Fun. You two enjoy those pre-packaged little blood bags. But a hunter like me needs to feed. My fangs haven't pierced flesh in so long.
Look at his little pouty face. The biggest one has me pinned to the floor. But despite their threatening words, they don't exactly seem intent on killing me right this second. Even lying prone on the ground, the first thing I notice is their teeth, or rather, the deadly points of their canines. Their skin doesn't have the same plumpness or glow that mine has, almost like their capillaries forgot how to refill with blood, and the mirror behind them has no reflection. No, this cannot be happening, can it? There's no way they're actually vampires. The word crashes out and they turn to me hungry, unforgiving, and feral. Oh my god, they're all so hot when they glare like that, Jesus. The one they call Valeria grabs hold of my chin, and with a delicate hand, but there's nothing delicate about the way she holds me.
Looks like we have a fan on our hands.
It looks like we do.
Her dark brows are pinched when she leans closer, her head tilted like she's sizing me up.
You interrupted us, kitten. And Ilyas here was just about to take his shirt off.
I mean, he can still do that. I'm here. I'm chilly. I can be part of this whole thing, right?
Taking your shirt off is for losers. And I was clearly winning.
Winning. I'm afraid. Laurel, let him dream.
I don't have to dream about winning. Winning is all I do. Look at these muscles. My face, these cards.
The trio continues to bicker amongst themselves, and I just lie here, watching. Vampires are just myths. Monsters made up by confused historians and then embellished by storytellers seeking to make us feel something. There has to be a simple explanation for these three, but now is not the time to get myself worked up about my own little fantasies. It's probably just some sort of kinky vampire lob event, cosplayers who lift or something. And I'm usually so on top of these gatherings. The costumes and props are serious. Movie magic fangs, even the red wine in their glasses look like real blood. And it wouldn't surprise me if they rented out this house for their own pleasure. There's no way you're real vampires. Who are you? A deadly silence fills the space between us as I graciously interrupt their quarreling. Valeria's hand gets tighter on my chin. Ilyas's body feels heavier against me. Who are we?
You don't think we're real?
I don't give a shit what she thinks. She'll know we're real enough when her blood is sliding down our throats.
Too much talking, not enough killing.
Wait, don't kill me. I don't taste good. Ilyas lunges for me at a speed that my eyes can hardly register. And I'm in such a broken state of shock, I say the first thing that comes to mind. Boobies? Boobas? Parlay! They all pause immediately, going still as statues as they look at me with a distinct mix of disgust and confusion.
Parlay?
Do we look like pirates to you?
You are what you eat, I suppose. Yo ho ho.
Wait, you guys eat pirates? Sorry, is there like a vampire version of Parlay where you have to let me explain myself before you kill me?
That green shit they put on your food to make it look nice?
That's parsley, Illy.
Parlay, not parsley. It's some bullshit the human picked up from the movies. You know, parlay.
Clearly, Ilyas does not know.
Besides, it's bold of you to assume we have anything to talk to you about, human.
Look, I may be human, but I'm very freaky and I'm a big lover of monsters. It doesn't matter whether you have 2 arms or 4 arms, or tentacles, or multiple wimwams. I still like you no matter whatever you schlanged about.
She could surprise you, Val.
You know, I never thought I'd be reminiscent about all the sailors I've eaten when I first sensed her quivering around the corner.
Honestly, Laurel, who hasn't eaten a ship full of sailors?
I do like a boatload of seamen every now and then.
Oh, now you've got me thinking about that time in Central Pay.
She gives my head an idle little shake, her fingers digging into my cheeks and making my mouth purse as she stares wistfully into the distance.
Oh, pristine beaches, expensive wines, obnoxious tourists, no one will miss.
As they once again continue to talk as if I'm not here, my gaze flits between their gorgeous, terrifying faces, desperate to find something I can use. All those years of memorizing books and movies and useless video games and cryptid lore has prepared me for this moment. I rack my brain for what little information I managed to learn about these three thus far. The biggest one, Ilyas, is apparently the oldest and seems to believe he's the best of the three of them in every way. He's probably susceptible to flattery. Valeria, the most petite of the trio, seems to have a penchant for the luxury of the glazed look in her eyes when she mentions Central Pay is anything to go by. And finally Laurel, the hardest to read of the three, gives me the distinct impression that they might be open to being entertained. I won't have much time to try whatever it is I'm gonna do, so I better choose a vampire fast and just go for it. Flatter Ilyas. I do like Ilyas. I'm sorry, I just think if I'm gonna die, it should be at the hands of the strongest, hottest, smartest, and sexiest. I frown. I swear there was one more attribute he mentioned.
Don't forget the oldest.
Right, sorry, and oldest vampire here. Laura rolls her eyes while Valeria shakes her head, but Ilyas practically beams. Oh yes, King, fall for my flattery, and let me fall into your boobas.
What a smart human you are. Nothing gets past you.
And I'm sure nothing gets past you with how wide you are.
Anyone can figure out that the way to your heart is through your inflated ego, darling.
If we're going to do this, can we at least make it interesting?
This? The whole fast talking your way out of a grisly situation thing. Their tone is so unbelievably world-weary, as if they've seen the situation play out again and again. They talk about my hypothetical death the same way I talk about Are You Scared of the Dark reruns.
I'd rather we didn't do much more talking at all, to be honest. I'm bored.
So you just want to kill the human now because you're jealous.
What happened to those killer instincts, Illy?
They're still there. I'm a stone-cold killer, okay?
Uh-huh, are you? He turns his wicked golden gaze to me, somehow exuding both murderous intent and boyish excitement in equal measure.
But if you want to say some nice things about me again first, human.
Flattery really will get you everywhere with him.
Flattery will get you nowhere with me, except for in my pants. The vampires are all staring at me expectantly now, and this time the pressure is really on. Talk about his muscles, talk about his wisdom, talk about his personality. I feel like he'll like it if we talk about his muscles. I couldn't help but notice you have more muscles than is humanly possible.
That's because it's not humanly possible.
The massive vampire grins broadly, baring his fangs at me while he lifts his arms in a pose reminiscent of a bodybuilder at a beach in one of those old advertisements. You know, the one where they kick sand at the lonely nerd.
I have as many muscles as is vampirely possible.
How many is that?
A lot, obviously.
Obviously. Well, if I have to die, I can't think of a better way to go than being crushed between those perfect arms. Crush me like a melon.
You know just what I want to hear.
I do. How do you like me now? How do you like them apples? And by apples, I mean my butt.
Oh, for f***'s sake. I'm putting a stop to this. His ego is already big enough, thank you.
There'll be no living with him after this. Well, if you're not gonna let the human keep saying nice things about me, I'm just gonna eat them now. Kicking your ass at cards really works up an appetite.
Oh, again. Delusional. But the point still stands. It does feel like you've reached your expiration date, sweet thing.
No. I have so much more to offer. Bends over. Somehow, once again, these three beautiful people are arguing amongst themselves, and I am left with a moment to ponder my options. There's no going back for me. But maybe I can Shahrazad my way through this extremely sexy, scary predicament. It's clear to me we'll never settle on who gets to eat me if we continue on like this. You're just too sexy and cool and clever. And I suppose you have our answer, don't you?
Again, Wasting time talking when we could be feeding.
Now, Illy, how often do we get entertainment of this caliber delivered to our doorstep? I want to see what cute little scheme she's got in her pocket. The massive vampire actually pouts.
It actually hurts to be this bored, you know.
I suppose we can hear a suggestion before we tear her apart. Talk fast, human. I can only keep those two from your throat for so long. Okay, well, I was thinking maybe I could ask you three a couple of questions. Get to know you three a little better. That way we can see who's the best fit to eat me.
You're holding Illy and I back for a f***ing job interview.
I haven't had a job in...
He frowns, his eyes squinting and mouth opening and closing. He seems to be thinking particularly hard about something. He raises his hand and looks to be counting on his fingers, but he gives up after a few moments. A long freaking time, and I'll be damned if I start now. Laurel inhales and exhales quietly, a hint of a smile on those perfect purple lips.
Absolute treasures, aren't they? Keep talking.
If they really are the creatures of the night that they claim to be, I better continue to think fast. I survived thus far on wit alone, and I can't let it fail me now. Maybe confidence is key here. Maybe I can throw them off. I'm still not convinced you're real. I stand my ground. Surely I can easily play their game and win them over with compliments. There's just no way you're not LARPers. Silly, sexy LARPers. I smirk at them, trying my best to make sure it doesn't shake nervously around the edges. Either way, I guess it doesn't matter. Laurel exhales a lilting laugh.
Que sera, certainly an interesting credo to live by. And die by.
You really are quite bold for a blood bag, aren't you?
I'm not a blood bag. I admire your tenacity, I suppose. Will indulge you. But this is truly your last chance. Ilyas, clearly on a different page than Laurel and Valeria entirely, flexes his big beefy arm.
I just can't believe you think that humans could ever have muscles like mine.
Valeria narrows her eyes at me as Ilyas palms his fist. He looks pretty keen on ripping me to shreds.
Illy, not yet.
A moment of raw tension passes.
This better be as fun as you seem to think it will be, Laurel. I can think of a million better ways to spend my time.
Twitter, for example. Laurel pointedly ignores her.
Tell me, what exactly drove you to fling yourself into this pit of vipers, human?
Lack of self-preservation? Ilyas grumbles.
God, it's so boring when you play Puppet Master. I'm over it. Enough talking. I'm taking what's mine.
A look passes over Valeria's face like she's suddenly reconsidering things. You suddenly don't want to hunt her now, Illy. Ilyas grumbles.
Come on.
She's just standing there like we owe her something.
A hunt can take many forms, Ilyas.
Even that of light chit-chat. Ilyas throws them both open looks of disgust, but a sigh sounds a lot like defeat, however temporary that may be.
I'll make it fun for you, Illy.
Oh, if I don't, I'll finally bring that pretty little clerk home for dinner.
I'll even let you have the first bite.
They said the title. The beefy vampire remains unconvinced. You don't make it easy, do you? Let's bring out the big guns, shall we? And here I was, saving this treat for a special occasion. Ilyas perks up a bit at that.
Humor me, and I'll hand over that extra special, super rare Juegolads spread from the 1992 Party Down edition of Glow Rods Weekly.
That does it.
The one with the,
Yes.
And the...
Yes.
I even had it laminated to guard against your nightly excretions. Oh god.
Fine, human. Check this shit out.
Ilyas straight up flexes, showing me his delts, biceps, triceps, and a multitude of muscles that I can't even name. You read enough dirty magazines to know humans are definitely capable of achieving such a body, Illy.
I'll also take the liberty to remind you that you had those muscles when you were alive.
Yeah, well, can a human do this?
Ilyas drops to the ground and straight into a planking position.
Get on my back, Laurel! You too, Val!
Fuck.
You cannot be freaking serious. Laurel doesn't seem to mind the request and sits astride him like they're riding a pony. With a huff, Valeria follows suit. It's an interesting sort of vampire pyramid. Now what?
Watch.
He begins doing push-ups with one finger. What the heck is going on? What is happening to me? 1 second, I'm practically begging for my life. and the next they're trying to impress me with their talents. I don't know what to think as my mind boomerangs from terrified to fascinated to enthralled. This certainly isn't what I had in mind all of the times I dreamed about watching three hot vampires ride each other. I'd be lying if I said this was exactly what I expected.
I'm sorry to tell you that everything you've learned from your insipid modern media is likely wrong. Laughable at best.
I knew it! Everything! Laurel and Valeria dismount and Ilyas huffs as he stands to join them. Yes, everything. I have so many questions. Like, how big is your penis? Ilyas? It's huge, right? Ask about holy water. Holy water is consecrated by the church, does it work? All it does is get you wet. And if you wanted to get wet, there are a lot more fun ways to do that. Tell me more. Okay, but tell me more, Ilya, and I'll even let you call me Slip and Slide. Okay, but what about coffins?
Do I look like I sleep in a coffin to you? Who do you think I am? Nosferatu?
Now, hold on a minute. Are you saying Nosferatu is real?
In a way, I suppose.
Dracula is very real and Nosferatu was based on him, so...
You know, I actually knew Dracula personally.
Ilyas groans loudly, but Valeria continues, raising her voice slightly as if to drown out his obvious sorrow. Vampires might not age, but the way Laurel and Ilyas seem to wither at the prospect of listening to her tell another story seems to sap a few centuries off their infinite lifespan.
Oh, it was all very exciting at first, the whole King of Darkness thing. But then you come to realize that he's far too invested in the wrong kind of impaling.
I like being impaled.
Ah, such a waste.
Wait, you slept with Dracula?
Oh, well, of course I've him. I'm not stupid. Oh, he's 6'7" and built like a god.
I want to see Dracula. Like Dracula Tippis from Castlevania. That man's hot. Not as hot as Richter Belmont, to be honest. That man's gorgeous. Ugh.
I'm just saying, it's unfortunate that he showed more interest in skewering his enemies than me. And I'm not going to beg any man, Dracula or not, to pay me attention.
My mind is officially blown. I mean, I can show you something else that's gonna get blown later. Okay, now I have to ask. What exactly is the difference between vampire sex and human sex?
Oh, you poor creature. You have no idea. It's better than your inadequate human mind could ever possibly imagine.
It's not inadequate. It might be a little small, but you know.
We can physically see lust spiraling off of bodies like smoky tendrils.
Oh
and
no.
Taste the pheromones that linger on the tip of gasping tongues.
I must be fogging up the room with mine then. We can smell every bead of sweat and other substances. A plethora of aromas. Sweet, salty, and inviting.
It rules!
Thank you, Ilyas. My heart starts racing, and then... Hang on. Why the frick are we still talking to our dinner?
Yes, that would be you. Sans a good garnish.
I am known to be pretty tasty.
My urge to kill it is dissipating. This human has no sense of self-preservation.
So true, so true. I don't have anything like that. It's no fun if you're not scared. It really has been too long since I had a good, hot, fresh meal. As I stare into these 3 sets of wide, scarlet eyes, it feels like I'm standing on the precipice of something. Something terrifying and life-ruining. But my heart is racing like I've just won the freaking lottery. I think back to my dream. Was it a premonition? Was the universe predicting my untimely death at the hands of these 3 monsters? You know what would make this mortal's blood taste better? A performance.
I want to play with her. Make it last.
I step forward again, and just on the edge of too close, their hungry gaze roaming my body like they're sizing me up for feasting. The eagerness inside me awakens, staring curiously, and it takes every ounce of my remaining willpower not to tip my throat in surrender.
I want to kill him right now.
Wait, no, don't!
And I call dibs.
In an instant, Ilyas is racing towards me. His outstretched arms grab my shoulders and we topple over. Hey, come here often. As I hit the floor for a second time this evening, I feel a very real sense of deja vu wash over me. He licks his lips before baring his cruel fangs.
Ilyas, wait.
Valeria bends over and leans close, her long silky hair falling down in my face. She traces the curve of my cheek with her fingertip, trailing down over my jaw.
Tell me your name.
Ilyas Winters.
Well now, Laurel here seems to have taken a liking to you. So that means you have one final chance to plead your case. Good luck.
Uh-oh, what to? Taste. You're probably wondering how I ended up here. This isn't exactly what I had in mind when I left my house earlier this evening on the lookout for an adventure, though it might be a situation that has played out in more than a few of my wicked fantasies. I have a terrible feeling I won't be getting the usual happy ending I imagine. No, this definitely doesn't feel like running off into the sunset with 3 super ripped, super hot vampires with a gentle breeze blowing through my hair deal. Maybe they'll prop me up on the sofa when they're done draining me dry and dress my corpse with a fashionable pair of sunglasses. If I'm lucky. They certainly seem like the type. Focusini. Ilyas, who still has me pinned to the floor, is staring at me, a frown pinching his brow. And I wonder if maybe he can hear some of the weird shit currently swirling around in my brain. Valeria, still hovering close enough that I can smell her sweet perfume, grows more menacing by the second. And Laurel, quiet, contemplative, terrifying Laurel, is wearing a smirk that could kill you from 100 yards away. They're leaning against the wall, watching the whole thing go down from a safe distance. It could be worse, maybe. If they want me to tell them why they shouldn't just kill me here and now, I'd better put my back into it. As a writer, I'm notoriously good at bullshitting, or, as Ghost and User Monster Fudger 69420 commented, presenting a fantasy that has people desperate for more. I need to figure out how to convince them not to rip open my throat and suck my life away. And if I fail, honestly, it wouldn't be that bad either. I go out in service of something I love, and then I have a light bulb moment. A freaking terrible, ill-advised, monumentally stupid light bulb moment. Wait, Ilyas and Valeria pull back quickly as if struck, their heads tipping to the side in the same way a dog would if you shook a treat box. Laurel just huffs a laugh, but it doesn't look like they plan on stopping me from further pleading my case. I have to wonder if these 3 ever manage to find a fresh meal. I want to be like you. I have a proposition for you. Say I do end up with all the bargaining chips, what exactly do I want? I'm a paranormal writer. Am I just content to leave with the only memory of this insane night trying to do it justice in my writing? Or do I want something more? A souvenir? A trinket, maybe? Or...
We're waiting.
These are vampires. Screw it. These are vampires. Clearly, immortality must be on the table here. I take a deep breath. What would I have to do to convince you to make me like you? To turn me into a vampire? Ilyas bursts into laughter immediately, which is really great for my ego. If not expected, actually. But when I tear my eyes from his doubled-over hulking form and look at Valeria and Laurel, they seem to be intrigued.
That's hilarious. A really good one. I forgot humans could be so funny.
Talk.
I mean, I'd be stupid not to ask, right? I've literally dreamed of having an opportunity like this my whole life. Can you blame me for taking the risk? You're gonna kill me regardless. I think. Valeria shrugs and looks at Laurel.
The human isn't wrong.
Ilyas snaps his head from side to side quickly, looking between his 2 comrades like they just grew horns.
Wait, are you actually pausing right now? Why aren't we chowing down?
Ugh, shush, Illy.
So if you really want this, convince us.
Okay, well, gets down on knees. Please, 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 please. My mouth falls open and then closes. Open. Close. Right, I can do that. Frick. What have I done? I feel Ilyas's grip on my shoulders loosen as he swings his leg over to stop straddling me. Reluctantly, he sets me free, and I instinctively sit up, scooting my knees into my chest.
We're expecting some good entertainment this evening now, you know. Though I'll warn you in case you haven't already guessed, we're a pretty tough crowd.
I gulp, but I can work with that. This is just a game, right? A very stupid, very deadly game. But I've been gifted a few more turns to make this all work in my favor. And hey, I've played a ton of games. I just have to use all my charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent to turn the tables. Judging by the looks on their faces, the longer I dilly-dally, the hungrier and more impatient they'll get. And like they already confirmed, the odds of me walking out of here alive are virtually non-existent. That's more than fair. I pause, letting the words hang in the air. Knowing I now have the full attention of the vampires, I use my next turn to stand up and brush myself off, making sure my stance is as confident as I can muster. They don't need to know I'm metaphorically pooping myself, despite them probably able to hear my heart screaming in my chest.
It's not every day we come across a human who lacks fear when staring death in the face.
Oh, no, I don't lack fear. I'm very scared right now, but I'm also aroused, or as I like to say, scaroused. So, enlighten us. Well, firstly, you're all really freaking hot. Valeria rolls her eyes so hard, I think they might fall out of her skull.
Okay.
Stating the obvious, kitten. What I mean is, vampires are brilliant, fascinating creatures that until tonight, I thought weren't fact but fiction. I've studied you, written about you. Why would I be afraid to die when it's literally my Freudian death wish dream fulfillment come to life? It's not as pretty as you seem to think.
There's a lot of blood. Like a ton. A whole body's worth.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, it's especially messy when Illy is involved.
I don't mind messy. It doesn't count if you don't get blood everywhere. He points at Valeria, and the look she gives him makes me think she might bite his finger off.
Plus, you're not even half as delicate as you think you are. You get sloppy too.
I'm also sloppy. See, we have something in common. She turns her nose up at him.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Illy is right. Remember that couple in Trinidad?
I do not. She clearly does.
I remember walking in on the three of you. It was a complete bloodbath. I'll never forget your face.
Is it like was her face kind of like that kitten that drank too much milk?
Don't make me make you forget my face.
As I listen to them talk about their past indiscretions, the idea of joining them on their raucous blood-fueled vacation sounds deliciously tempting. I muster up as much willpower as I can to keep my voice steady. I'm serious about what I said. I want you to turn me. I feel 3 sets of eyes narrowing in on all my vital spots. Laurel looks me over like a hamster in a cage. Illy, Val, you are always commenting on your woefully ceaseless boredom. Maybe Yinny can liven things up around here. They smile at me, and despite it reaching their pretty eyes, it doesn't quite stick. I am exceptionally good at making life interesting, if I do say so myself. I can teach you things like gaming, internet shopping, how not to act on Twitter.
We might be old, but we're not stuck in the Victorian times.
Oh, maybe you can fix my computer? It's doing that thing that it always does.
We can talk about your spectacular ability to infect every device we own with porn malware some other time, Ilyas.
Ilyas, we need to install an ad breaker and also put up the firewall on the computer so you don't click on sites like those. But for now, our attention should be on why Yinny wants to become one of us. Hush. With a wave of her hand, I feel my words die on my tongue.
You think it's something we can easily do? Just turn you. Like how humans adopt a puppy?
Would you like a puppy? I can be a puppy. I can bark. Well, it's not that hard. I'll show you something else that's hard, Ilyas. Illy, that's not the point.
None of us chose this life. It's not all amazing sex and free meals.
I mean, it kind of is these days, no? It's not? What Valeria means is that it isn't as glamorous as I assume you believe it to be. Valeria steps towards me, closing the distance between us. She takes my chin between her forefinger and thumb, making sure I have no choice but to look at her. Why should we even bother letting you continue to waste our precious time, Yinny?
Oh, entertaining you and your little idea was fun for a second. But I get bored so very easily, and Illy's tummy is going to start growling soon.
Not his tummy. She leans closer again, her lips brushing against my ear. You won't like him when he's hungry.
Hey, I'm always hungry.
I want to be strong. I'm tired of this human body. It can only do so much, especially now that I know that being more is such a tangible thing. I want to be stronger, better, faster. Is that a Twilight quote? I'm pretty sure that is a Twilight quote. Ilyas quirks a brow in what looks like curiosity, but then he's scoffing and looking smug.
That's cute, but you'll never be better than me.
He proudly flexes his big meaty arm and wow, that's big. Oh, huge. Oh, extra large.
Our kind are strong, sure, but don't go thinking you could ever reach my level of perfection. Understand?
Duly noted. Then I hear, is that a meow? Wait, You have a cat.
Nasty Dennis, he's not just a cat.
Nasty Dennis. I should rename you Pud Pud. Would you like to be called Nasty Pud Pud? I look around for this nasty Dennis and see nothing. The quiet, somewhat intimidating meowing continues. Can I see it? It isn't quite that simple, I'm afraid. He's more fiend than feline.
If you do see him, it's probably a bad omen for you, human.
You don't have to rub it in that I'm mortal and fleshy. You can rub something else in though. Is he like one of those cats who sit with elderly people in nursing homes before they die? Valeria snorts derisively.
I'll probably just shred your jugular.
So that's where the nasty comes from. Got it. Someone is enamored. I don't blame you. He's a fine specimen.
Right.
Despite being a complete bastard, yes. I wouldn't say that I'm enamored, just curious.
Isn't curiosity what killed the cat?
Yes, but satisfaction brought it back, you know, and I bet I could be satisfied if Ilyas took his schmeat out and just slanged it. Valeria then gestures towards the gallery wall behind her with a dramatic flourish, presenting a portrait with dainty hands. Nasty Dennis is a shaggy white Persian with a permanent resting murder face, and he's wearing a dashing, tiny red bow tie. He's adorable. That's a cute-ass cat. I love him. He looks so soft. I just want to kiss his fluffy, angry little eyebrows.
You really do have a death wish.
You gonna see what else I wish for?
Just because you've lasted this long doesn't mean we won't kill you, you know.
Trying to distract us by using Nasty Dennis as a pawn. I'm on to you, human.
Come on.
I'm getting really hungry and my patience is running out. I'm this close to snapping and eating you right here, right now. Right. That whole thing. Crap, I'm not sure how much longer I can hold them off like this. I partaken in a risky game of breaking and entering, trespassing, and most heinously, I interrupted their game night. And now I'm stuck in a game of my own making, one of life and death. I can't just stand by and hope they'll start to want to keep me around without putting the work in. Especially with such an incredible opportunity being dangled right before my eyes. Like all good relationships, it's not all about me. I need to know more about them. I need to know what the heck I'm getting myself into if this all pans out the way I want it to. You've interrogated me now, but maybe you should let me ask you some questions?
A question for questions seems fair.
Laura winks at me and extends their fingers, my eyes drifting to those sharp, shiny talons.
But be careful. Any wrong answers in your innards will make a nice table dressing.
Oh boy, a new job as Christmas tinsel. Valeria seems to perk up at the prospect of getting to talk about herself.
Okay.
What exactly do you want to know? There are a lot of things I can think of to ask them off the top of my head. Like, do bats make good company, for example? But then, maybe I should use my chances wisely and ask something productive. What do you miss most about being a human?
Nothing. I'm perfect.
I stare at him for a beat and he seems pretty serious. I expected something a little more profound, I'm not gonna lie. Laurel smiles softly, almost wistfully.
Music festivals.
Do you really have no regrets, Ilyas? As perfect as you are, Ilyas, there's truly nothing that you miss? Not one little thing? Nope, nothing. I told you once and I'll tell you again.
Yes.
I'm perfect. I have to admire his tenacity. Now it's our turn. Laurel's eyes are sharp and full of mischief.
Who do you stand in LBS?
Is that like this universe's version of BTS? When I decide to do a round-robin game of Truth and Truth with a trio of hungry, sassy vampires, I can't say I anticipated this one, but I must acquiesce. SM is my bias record. Dimples. They all have their strengths, and there's something I love about each of them. Find me one person on this planet who can resist Jimin, for example.
Ugh.
Valeria and Ilyas groan loudly while Laurel looks incredibly impressed. This bodes well for me. Oh, for heck's sake, not another one. Sorry, I just really love K-pop. I tend to ramble. Laurel nods improvingly. Is that satisfactory, Laurel? They nod, but I'm not entirely sure if I've made a good impression or not. Before I can ask my next question, Ilyas practically bulldozes Laurel out of the way. Okay, Yinny.
1. How does a 3-day hunt in the woods sound to you? 2. How do you like your blood to taste? 3. Where is your favorite place to bite someone? 4. What are your opinions on swords?
I love swords. I actually have a sword collection. I've got like 2 off the side of the camera. Well, someone's eager. Of course I like swords. Are you kidding? I love swords. I keep a katana by my bed while I sleep, like all good nerds. You do? Totally. I also have 3 shinai and a bokken in my apartment. Not to brag, but I did take several sword fighting classes in college. His big golden eyes seem to sparkle in wonder.
Hell yeah!
Oh, he's so cute. Whoa, that's awesome. Now,
Are you quite finished hogging the human, Illy?
Ilyas pouts and Valeria pats him on the chest. And then she's staring me down, a deadly look in her eyes. My turn.
Tell me, if given the chance, how would you try to impress a fine specimen of a vampire like myself?
She's so hot. She pokes at one of her fangs with her tongue. It feels like a threat, a sexy one. Think fast. What do I want? I'd take you anywhere in the world. Everywhere. We'll travel the world. Her eyes light up at the prospect and she doesn't even try to hide her apparent eagerness. I hold myself back from launching into a poorly timed rendition of a whole new world, but only just. Oh, I haven't traveled in so long. We used to go everywhere we pleased, do whatever we wanted, and eat whoever we could sink our teeth into. She sighs wistfully.
I miss killing people in different countries. Americans have come to taste so bland. My palate isn't as refined as it used to be.
I can fix that. I know where all the tasty humans hang out. Valeria smirks, and I feel my heart do a little lurch in my chest. Out of fear? Arousal? Either is possible. All of these questions, all of this incessant prodding. This is either the weirdest job interview I've had or the best speed dating session I've ever been to. I can't tell if I like it or love it. Before they pump me for more information, there's something I'm desperate to ask about. Powers. Abilities. I know they have them and I want to know it all. If I'm potentially going to be a vampire by the end of the night, I should be well informed about what my new body will be capable of. I want to know all about the cool vampire shit you guys can do.
Interesting priorities. Though it's a fair question.
I suppose the ability to see threads of truth you mortals can't.
The added benefit of near miraculous strength has its perks, but being a walking polygraph makes living in the shadows of humanity that much more entertaining.
Oh, I can imagine.
It's hard to choose one thing.
He runs his hand through his hair like a male model in a perfume ad as he contemplates his response.
I'm basically good at everything. But if I've got to pick just one, sharpened senses. I can hear a mouse's heartbeat at the other end of the house. I could smell you before you even set foot in here.
I'm not stinky though.
Well, being young and beautiful forever certainly has its perks, but if I simply had to choose one thing, I'd say that I quite enjoy thralling people. There's something inherently satisfying about bending people's will before ripping their throat out. You know, there's an art to it.
Well, those are all mildly terrifying. That all sounds incredibly cool and fun. The 3 of them look very pleased with themselves. It's getting late, or early, and I feel the anxiety pangs in my chest as they stare at me with thinly veiled impatience. Or judgment? I can't quite tell. My quick-firing brain is telling me that they're all talking about me telepathically or something. The silence is deadly. I pleaded my case long enough, and I really can't stand to wait around anymore. It's time. So, did I pass the test? Laurel taps their long fingernails against their chin in contemplation. I have one last question for you, Yinny.
Call me curious, but if you had to choose one of us to be your sire, who would you pick?
Ilyas?
Clearly, there's only one correct choice.
Ilyas and his big boobas? No pressure. This has to be a trap. There's no way this isn't. If I choose one, will the others pounce on me? If I don't choose, will I die regardless? Even if it is a scheme to get their fangs in my throat, I have no choice but to answer. Ilyas, there's no question. It's Ilyas. Big, beefy, perfect Ilyas with his huge arms and himbo spirit. Obviously, it has to be Ilyas. Ilyas laughs heartily, one fang peeking cutely through his lips.
Well, is that your final answer?
Yes, it is. My cheeks flush and I shyly avert my gaze from Ilyas. So...
Like I said before, as the oldest, smartest, and hottest, you're mine by right.
Hehe.
And since you're mine, I say you get to live.
I'm quite happy being Ilyas's.
For now, anyway.
He gives me a wicked grin.
It's been way too long since we had any real fun around here. Hope you're ready.
And he moves before I can even blink, snatching me up into his arms and bounding up the stairs with me like I'm some kind of oversized carnival prize. I mean, I am a clown. I do belong in a carnival. As I'm jostled in his arms, I do my best to contain my excitement about being chosen. I can't help but think about what's gonna happen next. 3. Ilyas. Yay! Ilyas carts me off to what I assume is his bedroom. If this is what my groceries feel like when I'm carrying them into the house. Speaking of metaphorical food, how hungry am I? And what exactly do I hope to gain from this one-on-one with Ilyas? Well, take me to the bone zone. There's only one thing on my mind right now, and that's Ilyas and I joined together in several unholy positions. I wanna bang. Before I can dwell on it any longer, he tosses me onto the bed like a pile of dirty laundry. Whatever happened to romance?
I won't lock the door.
He drags his tongue over his incisors.
I won't even close it. You could run if you want.
What? Sounds like you want me to escape. You kinda sound like you want me to try and escape. Ilyas comes alive at the thought. There's a savage gleam in his golden eyes that wasn't there before.
There's nothing, my God. I can hear everything. Feel everything.
Uh-huh. He inhales deeply, as if he's lost in some deep, dark memory. I can smell fear, you know? What does fear actually smell like? The rise and fall of Ilyas's chest is shallower than it was before.
Fear makes your blood sweet, like honey.
He moves towards me, his tongue darting out to moisten his lips as he gets closer to the bed. I try my best to control my breath and my increasingly dirty thoughts. But him closing in on me is making it very difficult to concentrate.
I don't smell much of it on you now, but I could change that.
Oh, really? I want you to turn me. Like I said, I already told you I want you to turn me. I tip my head in a show of courage, showing off the tasty exposed column of my throat. I'm moments away from straight up telling him to take a sip. Yeah, use me like a juice box, as I always say. I'm not scared. Ilyas folds his arms over his chest, his buzz seemingly harsh. It's not very sexy of you. He sits on the bed looking sullen and bored.
Well...
So, Ilyas drums his fingers on his thighs. You don't do this much. It's clear that my words poke at something sensitive in him. Do what? Sit next to a human without killing them. He's clearly grumpy. Of course I don't. You don't have to just sit there, you know? I know. Wasn't going to. He stands against something looming over me.
I was going to show you some things.
Like?
You know, before I kill you.
Uh-huh. Oh. I would love to hear about your room. I would love to hear about your room, actually. There's so much cool stuff in here.
Yes.
Of course he would. It rules. He looks at me expectantly for a few moments. I mean, there's a dirty sock on the nightstand, which what I can only assume is filled with something. And then there's pictures of boobies on the walls. Good for you, Illy.
You can start admiring now.
Your room is so nice. His face instantly lights up.
It's the best room in this house. Just look at it.
He gestures expansively, directing my attention to the various items strewn across the room or slung haphazardly over the furniture. I've hit the jackpot. There's so much stuff in here I can ask him about. Ask him about the swords, ask him about the pin-ups, ask him about the music poster, ask him about the swords. There's so many swords in here. Do you collect them? Ilyas nods, his eyes shining with pure, unadulterated himbo excitement.
When I was human, I had many blades. But I only had what I could find in my travels. Did you know that you can buy swords from anywhere on the internet?
He sounds so excited, it's so cute. I need to thank my friend Suha for writing Ilyas. She truly just came up with one of my favorite characters. He picks up a sword, one that I know I've seen at a Ren fair, but my inexperienced eyes can't identify it further. I mean, it just kinda looks like your standard ye-old hand-and-a-half sword, but I mean, Ilyas is pretty big, so, you know. Could be a longsword. It just looks like your standard ye-old longsword. I like my swords. I just got this one last week. He swings it expertly, but with the careless air of a boy playing with his toys. I can feel the wind from it slice through the air. It's not as good as the ones I used to have, of course. I bought so many cheap ones that broke with one swing. That's because you need to differentiate what's a prop sword and what's You know, a properly forged blacksmith sword. He frowns at me. Did you know people sell replica weapons? Fake weapons that look like real ones? Uh-huh. He puts the sword down and picks up a huge one that looks exactly like something I've seen in my favorite JRPG, Buster Sword. I looked all over the internet for a real one of these. Every single one I bought broke when I tried to use it properly. He seems sincerely sad. Do I actually have the heart to tell him it's not a real sword? Modern weapon makers are cowards. Real or not, you sure look good swinging it. Maybe this one. I feel like he likes it when you indulge him. Modern weapon makers are cowards. You deserve a real one. Ilyas's eyes light up with the joy of someone who feels like he's truly being seen.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. He swings the sword again, putting on quite a show for me. He really seems to enjoy being watched. If these blacksmiths had any balls at all, I'd have a room full of the finest swords the world has ever seen from every era of history. He lifts the sword high into the air above his head. This sword, if I had this weapon when I was alive, I could have killed even more spectacularly. He dramatically thrusts the sword into the floor, pointy end first, like he's intending for it to stick out of the ground, but it cracks in half. He sighs, shaking his head as he drops it. That's 4 now. Guess I haven't been reading my emails. Your emails? What emails are you sending them? Every time I break a sword, I send them an email letting them know how they can make it better. Were you a blacksmith in your time? What? Of course not. Then what kind of advice are you giving them? You tell them to make it stronger? Obviously. I do my best not to laugh, but it's a close call. Makes sense. Have they ever responded to you? Never. Cowards. Ask them about the pinups. You got a lot of pinups in here. I'm guessing it's safe to say you're a fan? Ilyas nods, revealing his fangs with an eager grin.
There's nothing more beautiful than the human body. Male, female, those outside the bounds of gender.
He walks over to the wall with the pinups taped messily to it, admiring the various bodies on display. Some are nude, some are neural, mostly nude, but all of them are sensual. They seem to come from all sorts of different places. Some from magazines, some playing cards, a few of them are even signed, glossy photos like the kind you paid good money for at conventions.
When I was alive, things like this weren't so common. Had a few drawings I carried with me. My prized possessions after my weapon.
He looks wistful. Where are they now?
Destroyed when I traveled from my homeland to Europe. Losing them sent me into a rage.
He runs a hand through his hair. That was right before I met Val. Must have murdered half of Europe back then. Wait, you murdered half of Europe for lost nudes? He laughs like he's remembering some childish indiscretion, rather than mass murder committed in the name of titties. Thinking back on his attempts to quantify his body count, I think it's safe to say he's not that great with numbers. I was an absolute monster back then. My bloodlust controlled me at all times.
When I was alive, I enjoyed violence. But after I got turned, killing was all I thought about.
He turns back towards the wall, tracing his fingers over one of the magazine pinups as he recalls some bygone time.
I could smell the blood of mortals. I could hear their frightened little rabbit hearts beating.
His fingertips curl inward, pressing against the model's printed thigh.
It drove me f***ing insane to hear them outside in the sunlight, living their stupid mortal lives as I stayed trapped in my room.
Alright, I'm sensing a little bit of sensitivity and a little bit of hostility here, Illy. He tips his head back, his eyes closed.
So every night when the sun set, I killed. And when the town's eyes turned to me, I left to begin again.
And that's when you met Valeria. He smiles, though he keeps his eyes closed.
She was the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen. Second to myself, of course.
He exhales, a soft sort of sound from such a large man. His expression is almost tender. I was in the middle of one of my nightly blood rages and it was a messy kill. Even for me. He radiates a violent sort of pride.
Just picture it. I'm enjoying my kill. Blood all over my face and clothes. All over the alley walls. And then I hear this voice from behind me like, "You know you can't keep doing that, right?"
So I turn to see who would dare speak to me like this. He smiles.
I felt my undead heart stop for just a moment. I knew she was like me immediately. Her scent, the distinct lack of a heartbeat.
And those fangs. I've seen them do so many violent and sexy things over the years.
Anyway, I was intrigued. How could this hot stranger speak so rudely and confidently to me? She told me to get out of the street with my kills before I attracted the wrong sort of attention.
Vampire hunters? Van Helsing?
I told her I was clearly attracting the right sort of attention. If a person as beautiful as her showed up.
Ilyas, I didn't know you had it in you. He seems very proud of himself. I'll give him that one. It was smooth.
I thought I'd put her in her place and humble her a little. But when my hand closed around her throat, she only laughed.
He sighs wistfully. What a freaking babe. I offered her some of my kill, but she said no. She said that she didn't need my leftovers. She said she was quite well fed, actually, and that we could talk more in private.
I let her take me back to her hotel room. She taught me about vampire culture, rules and all. And in return, I showed her my gratitude.
In the form of your, Schmeat? He bites his lip with one fang, nodding smugly as though he's waiting for me to follow along. I say nothing, hoping he'll spell it out for me.
It's my gratitude is my.
I could tell. I could tell that your Schmeat was your, He grins, cheeky and entirely too proud of himself. Laurel made that up. They're quite clever. So, how did you meet Laurel?
Val and I were in New Orleans for a little while. We were doing a sort of murder tour, you know? Val is a real artist with her kills. Likes to keep it clean and pretty. Me, I like to see just how messy I can be.
He shows me those fangs again.
But we had a good time, the two of us. And New Orleans was where we did some of our best work.
We were working our way through the city, hunting and chasing whatever pleasures we could find, but it made me start to wonder.
I heard whispers of supernatural beings, of strength and powers I could only dream of as a vampire. When I stalked the alleys at night, I kept getting these weird feelings. Urges, I guess. I thought I was going mad at first, but then Val told me she felt it too.
The first couple of times I kept feeling the urge to kill after I'd finished for the night.
I mean, like, you can never have too much murder, right?
But it was risky. Kills just before the sun rises. Kills that might attract attention.
Then it was weird shit like remembering the woman who turned me. Sometimes it was just uncontrolled lust. I once took Val right out in the square in front of dozens of people.
Well, couldn't even stop ourselves. His golden eyes glimmer with the heat of that memory. Anyway, being as smart as I am, I figured some supernatural creature must be behind it. So, of course, I demanded that they reveal themselves. Had to go all over town to hunt down the source, but I found them eventually. He gets that look on his face again, surprisingly gentle for being such a self-professed killer. Another like Valerian, cold and immortal.
The other most beautiful creature I'd ever seen.
And I'm the other one, right? He gives me a cheeky wink.
After me, obviously.
Obviously.
He was so small. The power radiated from him. I had to know his secrets. But nothing they said to me made any sense. And then they started asking me questions.
Where did you come from? How did you survive this long?
But then, after we'd been talking for a while, he said something like, "Oh, you really are just head empty, aren't you?"
He folds his arms over his chest, a pouty expression on his face.
Rude. My head is filled with all kinds of cool and smart things.
I would also like to be filled with many things later.
Before I could teach them some manners, well...
His expression shifts to a considerably thirstier one.
He pushed me down and told me he'd show me the secrets to his power if I showed him mine first.
Whoa! He laughs.
Since then, the three of us have stuck together. Must be 200 years or something by now.
Damn, it's a seriously long time. It's kind of amazing. It is. But enough about them. Let's talk about me. I think it's probably best to ask him whatever remaining questions I have while I still can. Ask him about the music poster. I point to a massive poster taped clumsily to the wall. Big fan of the Juegolads.
The biggest? No one loves the Juegolads more than I do.
I do like the Juegolads, which is this universe's version of the Venga Boys. He folds his arms over his chest, towering over me in a pose that would be incredibly intimidating if it weren't in the service of his assertion that he's the #1 Juegolads fan. The Juegolads took over the music scene in the late 90s with their spicy party music, but then long since disappeared from the airwaves. Looking at Ilyas, however, you'd think that they never left. I should be careful with my response. It seems he takes them very seriously. Alright, name 5 of their songs. Not hard when no one loves the Juegolads. Name 5 of their songs. Ilyas scoffs.
Bang, bang, bang. All we do is party. In and out. We're off to Cancun. Uncle Bart from St. Bart's. Come on. At least ask me something difficult.
Those are their biggest hits. Anyone alive in the 90s could have told you that. Tell me something that proves you're a true fan. Wait, why are we gatekeeping? Ilyas stands up straighter. His golden eyes alight with the spirit of challenge.
You want to see my concert stubs? I kept everything.
He walks across the room to dig through a massive box before he finally pulls out a thick binder. It seems like it was meant to be a photo album, but he's filled the clear sleeves with ticket stubs. I also have an album, but it's not filled with ticket stubs. It's filled with, like, photo cards of hot 2D men. He flips through trying to find out what he needs. He has to peel the pages apart where they're stuck together over time. He grumbles under his breath as he hunts. Val made me put them in here. They're easier to find before. Somehow I doubt that. But the idea of one vampire forcing another to organize his mementos is strangely sweet. Here it is. Look at that. He shows me a ticket from New Year's Eve 1999. He's absolutely beaming. He's so cute. Look how excited he is. They hosted the show on New Year's Eve in 1999. At night, in the dark. He grins at me, waiting for his words to sink in. You know, at night, because you're a vampire. He nods eagerly.
It was on the beach. I haven't felt the sand between my toes in a long time.
Real talk though, despite how spicy Ilyas is, I feel like that must have been such a happy occasion for him. Sweetheart. Too long. He looks at the ticket, growing contemplative.
When I listen to the Juegolads, I can feel the sun on my skin. I never cared about the sun when I was human. It was just there. I didn't think about it at all when I was turned.
He traces a finger along the plastic edge of the album sleeve.
But somewhere this need grew in me. The hunger for blood covered it for a long time, but...
He looks at me, an unexpected softness in his eyes.
When I listen to the Juegolads sing about on the beach, I remember for a moment what it was to live. To feel the sun shine on your bare skin. And partying are two of the most important things in the world to me.
Boy.
And the Juegolads understand those values better than any musician, dead or alive.
His expression is vulnerable in a way I never anticipated to witness. I hope we can listen together sometime. Ilyas bites his lip, his gaze almost gentle. He looks at me as though I've asked him something deeply romantic. I'd like that. Yay! He thinks for a moment, then he offers me a mischievous grin as he sets the album back down. We'll see how the night goes. We've been talking for a while now. Ilyas settles himself next to me on the bed again. But the atmosphere and his demeanor are noticeably different from when I first came in. He seems far more comfortable with me now. Who would have guessed the secret to a vampire's heart is letting him show you his stuff?
It's time to do what we came here to do.
Oh, what we came... Wait, what? Me acting innocent when I absolutely know what we came here to do? What we came here to do? Ilyas grins, cheekier than I've seen from him thus far. Don't play dumb. You know what I mean. Are you gonna... you know, me? Ilyas laughs, baring his fangs in a surprisingly friendly expression. Duh. But other than that, might be fun to keep doing it. You know, for eternity. Yes! If you want to anyway. If you don't, I can just kill you regular style. Up to you. I'll have fun either way. I'll take the eternity of fudge, please. Ilyas laughs, such a beautiful sound falling from the lips of a supernaturally gorgeous man. He bites his lip for just a moment, and it makes my heart skip a beat. Good choice. Do you have any last words or whatever? As a human, last words? I guess I do have to die before I become a vampire. I give lots of thoughts to any regrets I might have, or things I've left undone. Please delete my browser history. But in all seriousness, there are things I should be prepared for after I get turned, right? Everything I know from the media, and as I've learned from this trio, hasn't exactly been the most accurate. I do have a few questions before we start. What's the process of turning me? Ilyas folds his arms over his chest, sitting up with a very self-assured sort of expression on his face. It's easy. I drink your blood, you drink mine. Ilyas gives me a cheeky little grin, biting his lip with a single fang.
The hard part is gonna be making sure I don't just kill you. Once I get going.
Well, he exhales, clearly lost in the pleasant thought of his own violence.
It's real hard to stop.
Yikes! Who turned you? Ilyas's expression grows more serious. I don't know, really. He frowns, running a hand through his hair.
I spent my entire life becoming as strong as I could, but training wasn't enough. I searched for all sorts of things to make me stronger. Potions, amulets, trinkets.
But nothing worked. None of it was enough. Eventually, I knew I had nothing left but to try and strike a deal with the djinn. One night, I met a woman who offered me exactly what I hoped for. She told me she could communicate with djinn, and that she'd make a deal for me. He gives me a cheeky grin. She was also very hot. Uh-huh. Of course. So I thought, hey, that and ultimate power. Who wouldn't go for that? His expression grows serious again. Well, we didn't, and it was great, but then she bit me.
The pain was like nothing I've ever felt. And I'm not a weak man.
She drank my blood, and he seems almost ashamed. Could hardly move or speak. I've never been at someone else's mercy in that way. He looks down at his lap, his expression serious.
I was so weak I couldn't even see what she did or how she did it. But I could taste her blood in my mouth.
And then the pain. She whispered things into my ear as the last pieces of my soul left my body. Cruel words and praise back to back.
It was the most intimate experience of my life until then. Before I met Val and Lore, anyway.
What happened when it was all over? Ilyas's expression grew sullen.
Everything went dark, and when I woke up a few days later, she was gone.
She left me in a tent alone, without even telling me what she'd done.
I tried to go out and find her, and the sun coming through the opening in the tent nearly killed me. I was a new vampire, with no idea what that meant for me. And the hunger, it drove me mad.
Yeah, poor Illy. I feel so bad for him with this bit. When the sun set, I left the tent and killed every person in my path.
I never did find her. Never even got her name.
I'm sorry she treated you that way. You deserve better. Vampires aren't exactly known for their kindness, but his sire sounds spectacularly cruel and, frankly, irresponsible. Yeah, well, screw her. I'll turn you way better than she turned me. You won't be alone like I was. And if you feel like hurting anyone. He gives me a wicked grin. Everyone in this house likes pain. What does this mean for our relationship? Relationship. You know, like, when you turn someone you're attracted to. Does it mean you start dating too? Ilyas seems completely taken by surprise at this question. I guess, if you want to, I don't know. Is that what you want? Yes, I like that very much. Ilyas grins at me like he finds this absolutely adorable. Oh, that's what you want. Why not?
Me turning you doesn't mean you belong to me. But if you want to belong to me anyway...
Yes?
It's only natural you'd want to be around my perfection for the rest of your eternal life, isn't it?
I suppose so. But what about Laurel and Valeria? What about them? They won't mind? Like, really? I thought maybe you might be... Ilyas gives me a very smug look as if he finds me hopelessly naive. Vampires aren't like humans with their dramatic little love lives.
What I have with Laura and Val is beyond human comprehension.
You being with me doesn't automatically make you part of that. Not if you don't want to be. What if I want you all to myself? Once I have Ilyas, I'm not sure I'd be willing to share him. I mean, he's freaking perfect. I just want to share perfection. What if I want you all to myself? Ilyas seems to really like this idea.
You're so cute. So possessive before we've even fucked.
Whoa!
It's not surprising when you look at me, though, is it?
I suppose not. He grins, running his tongue across his teeth. I'll be the one doing the possessing here. But I love the way you think. Hehe. Have you ever done this before? This is important to know, right? Like when you're getting a tattoo, you want to know that your artist has inked someone before. Knowing Ilyas has experience would be comforting. Ilyas purses his lips, looking up as he tries to think back over the years.
No, not really. I did try it once, but I got so into it I kind of just killed him.
He laughs. That's the opposite of comforting Ilyas.
Everyone f***ed up sometimes, right?
But he died.
I mean, obviously, I'm perfect and good at everything.
Uh-huh.
A hunter of my caliber? Can anyone blame me for doing what I do best?
He smiles so purely while talking about killing, steadfastly refusing to let me forget just how deadly he is. That's fair. Ilyas's golden gaze seems hotter than I remember. His eyelids low and his fang biting into his plush bottom lip. He reaches out to take my chin between his thumb and forefinger, tilting my chin up to reveal more of my neck. His gaze sweeps across my body, but it returns back to my throat. For a moment, I'm not sure whether he means to devour me or will devour me. But I don't have to wait long for my answer.
This might be the last time I get to have fun like this with a mortal for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever comes around here, so if we're gonna do this...
His expression turns devilish. In fact, it's downright homicidal. Eek. I like that he's got the double fangs.
Make it fun for me.
Uh-huh. He stands, walking over to the door and slamming it open with one massive fist. It flies off its hinges and out into the wall. He seems entirely unfazed by this act of property damage, too excited and hungry, perhaps.
Run.
Alright,
Don't f it up by talking. Run.
There's something about the way he growls like run that just makes me like, oof. Wow. He doesn't leave me with much choice, does he? I take off running past him and nearly trip over the door in the hallway as I go. Can you imagine how embarrassing it'd be if I died from a freaking fall right now? I can just hear the medical examiner. Cause of death, tripped over a door, fell ass over ankles down the stairs, broke her neck. Really? Broke her neck with 3 perfectly good vampires nearby. Waste of a good neck. Waste of good vampires too. I dismissed my ridiculous mental dialogue as I thundered down the stairs, my heart racing from more than just the exertion. Where can I go in a situation like this, and how far does he want me to flee? What if he gets too into this and kills me instead of turning me? Then again, what if he gets mad at me for not running fast enough? What should I do? Hide. As I make my way to the stairs, I'm startled by the arrestingly beautiful gazes of Laurel and Valeria peeking at me from what looks to be one of their rooms. Somehow in all the chaos I'd managed to forget they were here too. The decor seems to suggest it's Valeria's, but I don't exactly have time to speculate. The 2 vampires are lounging on the bed, each holding wine glasses in their hands filled with a mystery liquid. Is it blood? Wine? My fear-addled brain can't really distinguish.
Buyer's remorse, kitten?
No, I'm fine.
No takesies backsies.
Excuse me. I stumble past them down the stairs, desperate for a place to hide. I don't see much here in the living room at first glance, but hiding in a room full of hungry vampires hardly seems like a plan.
Try the cabinet!
Laurel calls out to me from the stairs. I can hear Valeria laughing next to them. That ought to buy her a whole 30 seconds. I have been dying for a new cabinet. Shall we have a look online?
Delivery boy consolation prize. This is why I love you.
Oh, I thought you loved me for my killer rack and my penchant for murder.
I'm a complex being, Val. Why can't it be both?
Sure enough, there's a massive cabinet at the far end of the room that looks like it'd fit me. I fling the door open and step inside, doing my best to hold the door closed as fully as I can. Unfortunately for me, there's nothing for me to hold onto from the inside, so I can only manage to close it most of the way. I can see a small sliver of the room from here, but I almost don't need to. The moment Ilyas starts moving, I can feel every step. The house shakes. Rickety old furniture rattling against the hardwood floor. I can hear Laurel and Valeria giggling faintly outside. I thought I was being quiet, but suddenly every sound I make is so loud. My pulse is roaring in my ears, and the sound of my own shaky breathing fills a small space around me. I can't even see Ilyas yet, but I feel as if I'm standing out there, exposed right in front of him. Ilyas sounds as if he's somewhere near the door. I know he must be toying with me because there's no way a hunter with his senses can't hear me shaking and sweating in this cabinet.
It smells like fear in here.
No, that's just me. I farted. He laughs, walking forward until he's just within my view. He closes his eyes, inhaling deeply and running his tongue over his fangs. When he opens his eyes again, his irises are a bright red.
I can hear the rustle of your clothing as you tremble.
He looks at me now, his wild-eyed gaze cutting straight through me, and even through this narrow field of vision, I'm simply paralyzed. Excitement and terror are wrestling for control of me, and at the moment they're equally matched. Scaroused, achieve.
You really thought you could hide from me.
Oof. He reaches out, yanking the cabinet doors apart so suddenly they rocket off their hinges to separate corners of the room. He's panting now from the looks of things. It's not so much exertion as it is raw animal desire.
You're just so cute.
Oh, I've been... Hee. Stop it. And then he's grabbing me, scooping me up into one massive arm and tossing me to the floor. He's on me in an instant, kneeling over me as he reaches back to yank his hoodie off. Is that what we're calling it? We're just gonna call it a hoodie now, are we? Whoa, oh, dang. Been a while since I've seen this. It's nice. Is now a good time to tell you how freaking hot you are? Ilyas laughs and the sound of it sends excitement flooding through me.
Yeah, it is. Get it all out now while you can still speak.
I laugh nervous and breathless. Being killed is part of the whole deal with it being turned, right? But when he says it like that, I can't be sure if he means it like that or, well, that. My hands feel so clumsy as I try to remove the fabric. Ilyas must feel the same because he stops and reaches down to help me, carrying a few things when he can't seem to get them off. Hey, I like that.
We'll get you another one.
He bends down to kiss me, and I'm shocked by the cool feeling of his lips on mine. Even more so the feeling of his tongue. I heard vampires are cold, and I've certainly felt his touch through the evening. But this might be the most surreal thing I've experienced thus far. Is the rest of you this cold? I mean, I'm gonna find out. You'll find out soon. His hands are exploring, squeezing every bit that they can reach. It's surprisingly gentle, all things considered. That feels amazing. Can you do it again?
Who said you could give me orders?
Me? Is that a no? He does as I asked anyway, burying his grumpy expression in my neck. Perhaps it's so I won't see that he might like being ordered around a little bit. Something tells me that Illy is not exclusively a dom. As things start to heat up, he comes back to my neck again and again, and I realize it's probably taking quite a bit of willpower to just not go feral and eat me.
You're so f***ing warm.
Don't use that voice. His hands are moving down to rid himself of the rest of the fabric.
While those warm, soft lips can still speak. Tell me how beautiful you think I am.
Wow! He doesn't leave me with much choice, does he? I comply, the words slipping from my mouth as soon as they come to me. To use the word beautiful would be a disservice to you, Ilyas. You're beyond beauty, you're a god. You're so freaking gorgeous and no one mortal or immortal can even come close to you. He places a massive palm on me, crushing me just a bit too hard. The strength I feel in that grip is both terrifying and exciting.
Tell me you've never seen a man as perfect as I am.
I mean, there is Blade from Honkai Star Rail, but I'll tell you anyway. You're not only the most perfect man I've ever encountered, but you're perfection itself.
Just like that.
Well,
Can't wait any longer.
eek! He takes me without ceremony, consuming me like a man long deprived of sustenance. His pace is intense, his presence and physicality overwhelming. It's clear that he needs this and he intends to take what he wants from me. But I want to give him myself too. It feels like I've been waiting my entire life to have this experience, and now that's finally here. It's absolute ecstasy. I feel as though he's avoiding biting me, though he'd really like to. But when he slows his pace and looks down at me, it becomes clear why. He'd spoken of losing control earlier being a worry. It must be important to him to do this right.
I'm going to do it when you come, you know.
You gonna let him be like that? What? His gaze is positively wicked as he towers over me.
Make sure it's a good one. If I f*** up, it'll be the last one you'll ever have.
God, the breathiness in the voice. He gives me a little pat on the knee as if he means to reassure me.
But I won't f*** it up. Probably.
Probably, he says. I try to speak, but my brain and body are in such ecstasy that I can only groan a form of understanding. He covers me with himself, kissing me into a frenzy as he resumes his unsustainable pace. Well, unsustainable for me anyway. It's clear that he could do this for days.
Scream my name.
Whoa! Yikes! His command is so hard to resist, and the fear that this might be the last peak of my life is quickly overcome by myself succumbing to his relentless movement. He moves to my neck, his fangs piercing my skin almost immediately. The pain of his bite melds with the pleasure of my peak, and I find myself in this strange state of euphoria. Well, if I have to die, it wouldn't be the worst way to go, would it? Cool liquid fills my mouth, and I nearly choke on it at first, but the pain its ingestion brings sharpens my senses immediately. Every part of my body feels like it's on fire. It takes a few moments for me to recognize that distorted screams of pain are coming from my own mouth.
You'll be strong now. Stronger than you've ever been. This pain will bring strength and eternal life.
And then we can listen to Juegolads together forever? It's hard to make sense of his words at first, but as the pain reaches some threshold of equilibrium, I realize Ilyas is holding me and... is he trying to comfort me? Ooh, not the pan upwards.
You will be beautiful and powerful and terrifying.
He really does make a mess.
I'll to the smooth sounds of the Juegolads in the moonlight.
You're what now? Nice. I mean, I'm not complaining. Of all the things to say, it's the last thought my brain can manage before the pain dulls and the last of my life ebbs away. Part 4. Rebirth. It's that feeling when you're starting to wake up, 5 minutes before your alarm goes off. That prelude to consciousness where you're desperate to stay asleep. My fingers began to twitch, and I blink as if stuck in the middle of a REM cycle. Slowly, I shed my sleepiness, and the events of my last human night come to the forefront of my mind. Everything. I remember it all, from entering the house to meeting the vampires to the interview to Ilyas's bedroom, and finally, to the turning. As I lay here in Ilyas's bed, eyes still closed, my senses begin to return. I can smell him all over me, sweet and musky, and my new ears tune into the skittering sound of animals outside. And there's a couple of things I can no longer feel. There's no heartbeat. I can't feel the sleepy warmth of the bed sheets. I would low-key hate that, I'll be honest. Still, it's a peaceful sort of awakening. Of all the ways I describe this in my writing, experiencing it now is far more serene and calming. I let myself take a moment to embrace it all. That is, until I hear the of, is that the Juegolads? I groan as I speak, my mouth and throat parch, and suddenly I have a throbbing headache.
Hell yeah!
I can hear his smirk in his voice. Maybe not on full volume until I'm entirely awake. The mad beats decreased to about half the volume it was before, and it's tolerable. My head is killing me. This is the worst hangover I've ever had. With great effort, I manage to lift my heavy eyelids, but I'm not prepared for what unfolds before me. Ilyas cannonballs onto the bed. My body bounces against the mattress as he lands, and he crawls over to me. Good night, Yinny. He says it lovingly, like a father welcoming his child to the world. Night? How long was I asleep for?
Dead. You were dead.
Nice. His expression is serious, but even still he gyrates his hips and chest to the alluring beats of Europop. I guess he just can't help himself. Can you imagine someone giving you like a serious piece of information and they just can't resist like bopping around and, you know, giving you like several butt shakes? He meets my gaze as his lips hook into a smirk. You were dead for 3 days. Neat. Like Jesus, huh?
But way hotter.
Hehe. I laugh looking up at him in all his himbo majesty. I feel awake, alive even, but something's off. I lift the covers to take stock of my situation, but when I look down at my body, I'm always blinded by an explosion of color. Ilyas? He cocks his head slightly. Why am I dressed like a raver? I hold up the neon pink pacifier around my neck for emphasis.
You were dead. I was bored.
Don't listen to him, Yinny. He spent days picking out every article of clothing for you, down to the pacifier. He wouldn't shut up about you. For the first day, he wouldn't even leave your side. Aww. We had to bring blood bags to him, and it's a plastic mess everywhere. I'm pleasantly surprised to hear that Ilyas cared so much about my well-being as a new vampire. Cute.
Wait, there's more. Laurel! Val! Are you ready?
You know what to do, right? Yes, Ilyas, you've been incessantly reminding us every freaking hour. On the hour.
Shut up! You're gonna ruin it!
Get into position. Both Valeria and Laura pull something from behind their backs and place it on their heads, with Ilyas following suit. I put a hand over my mouth to hide my grin. They look so adorable in their little rainbow party hats, but I'd hate for them to think I'm laughing at them. As my finger curls around my cheek, my pinky brushes against a string looped under my chin. It seems I, too, am wearing one of those ridiculous hats. I open my mouth to say something smart to Ilyas, but he puts a finger to my mouth to hush me. Moving from me in his bed to his companions, he hands them what looks like party poppers. It's such a surreal sight after our intimidating introduction. They all look so happy together. I might even be tempted to pronounce them harmless, but I know better.
Come on.
Okay. On 3, 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday!
Oh, that's so cute though. After partaking in the apparently traditional vampire rebirthday celebration, Ilyas lets me take a moment to compose myself. I stretch my hands up to the sky and bring them down into fists. I feel a strength I've never felt before coursing through my muscles. I'm strong. Unbelievably so. I look for the biggest, heaviest object in the room. It's the very thing I'm in, the bed. I jump out from beneath the covers, excitement running through me like an electrical current as I bend down to give it a try. I place one hand under the frame and lift it so swiftly and easily. I have to stop myself before I fling it right into a wall. Easy. I do a couple of bicep curls with it for good measure before I put it back in its rightful place, not wanting to disrupt Ilyas's room too much. I'm actually a vampire. A real-life, blood-sucking fiend. I mean, it's not the only thing I'm going to be sucking. Anyways, saying the words out loud makes it feel 10 times more real. I turn to show Ilyas my newfound strength, but he's in the process of slingshotting his hat into the air. Or attempting to anyway. He loops the string around his thumb and pulls back, but the string is no match for the might of his thumb. It snaps almost immediately and drops right out of his hand. Ilyas, bless him, doesn't seem the least bit embarrassed by his failure. He just grins at me like he planned it.
See? I told you I wasn't gonna up.
And I believed you. Kind of. Ironic given how the party hat was lying on the floor between us, but I know he means turning me. I'll let him have this one. I do have to give you that.
How many times do I have to tell you I'm perfect before you get it?
As many times more as you need to. He looks so sincerely proud of himself, it's honestly heartwarming. I think I'm starting to get it now. And thinking about Ilyas, Valeria, and Laurel standing together, it hits me. that my entire life has changed in ways I couldn't possibly fathom. Everything I thought I knew, all the things I held dear, all of that's behind me now. And yet, the thought is strangely appealing. My stomach flutters and my chest tightens, but the tears that spring to my eyes don't feel like any sort of grief at all. It feels like a new beginning, and just maybe, belonging. I wander downstairs and find myself back where I started, in the foyer. The portrait of nasty Dennis feels no less threatening, though despite my newfound immortality. I chuckled to myself. Just 3 days ago, I was a regular human who stumbled my way into their lives. So much has changed, but I'm still the same me. I'm still Yinny. I mean, just stronger, you know, immortal, maybe sexier. Well, that's not completely true. I'm the Technicolor version of myself, remastered, now on Blu-ray. Laurel graciously hands me a glass filled with blood. I don't ask where it came from, and I don't care. I'm suddenly all too aware of the way my throat burns. My body aches to taste my first drop. I greedily snatch the wine glass from their hands and down it in one go, like a frat boy at a kegger. I catch the messy dribble of blood that runs down my chin with the back of my hand. I lick it clean, careful not to waste a drop. Oh, well, that's good. I look at them all staring at me, eyes wide and their grins wider. I realize I probably look like a wild animal, unable to control myself. Oh, crap, sorry.
Think nothing of it. Your first drink should have that kind of emotion behind it.
The egg never does. It's glorious.
You'll get used to it. Control comes with practice, kitten.
Hehe. Valeria carefully pours me a second drink from a blood bag, O negative. Drinker, I savor this round. I take small sips, letting it linger on my tongue and really enjoy the taste for the first time. Copper sweet, like a mouthful of pennies with a spoonful of sugar on top. I wonder if every human tastes the same. A woozy kind of drunkenness overtakes me. Send me a replacement for the warmth I now lack. I think I need to sit down.
Come on.
Ilyas guides me over to the sofa. I both take a seat before Valeria and Laura follow suit. We all cozy up together in the too small space. Finally, an excuse to get a new sofa. I freaking hate this thing. Blood tipsy and sated, I can't help but smile as I sink back into the plush cushions. How do you feel? It's a lot to take in. I'm sure it'll take some time before I get used to the whole being dead thing. But I feel good. Really good.
Luckily, you've got eternity to figure it out.
Unless you find yourself in the hands of a vampire hunter.
But is Van Helsing real and is he hot? I'll tear anyone who tries to harm you apart with my bare hands. I can't believe there are really vampire hunters though. Next you tell me that Mothman is real. Laurel stares at me blankly.
Well,
He is. He has a great ass. But regardless, I wouldn't worry your pretty little head about hunters, Yinny. It's been, what, 50 years since we last encountered one? The last vampire hunter that dared to enter the city of Portland didn't last very long. He destroyed them without even breaking a sweat. Pathetic.
we celebrated our resounding victory with sprinkled donuts.
Ilyas huffs, clearly offended that Laurel took the glamour out of his story. Yeah, covered in the blood and guts of our brutally stained enemies.
Free donuts are the only real way to celebrate anyway.
Ilyas huffs and folds his huge arms across his chest, an impressive pout on his lips. I need to hear this story in intricate detail. Some other time. We promise to teach you everything you need to know. I just want to know how to contribute to protecting our coven if shit hits the fan, you know? We are a coven, right? What's the proper terminology here? Brood, clutch, pack, clan, coven? All are interchangeable. What should I call us? You're our kin. Kin. And let the name settle on my tongue. I like it. Good. Because you're here to stay. You have to like it. The room falls into silence, and it's the comfortable kind. I look around, taking everything in. Powerful Ilyas, entrancing Laurel, breathtaking Valeria. I smile to myself. This is my new home, my new life, my new world. Finally, I belong. Hooray! We got Ilyas's good ending. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Look at these like bonus illustrations. A lot of them are so pretty too. Alright, one more thing left to do. I want to try and get that death banging ending with Ilyas and see how we go. I thought vampires listen to darker stuff. I pause and scan my brain for a good example. Like death metal. Ilyas rolls his eyes, obviously thoroughly annoyed by this assertion. Vampires listen to anything we want, but few vampires share my amazing taste. He shakes his head at me. Humans are so embarrassing. I thought vampires listen to darker stuff, and I thought humans were fit for more than food. I guess we're both wrong tonight. He gives me a look that makes me think perhaps a change of subject is in order. I'd rather not die over the Juegolads. We've been talking for a while now. Ilyas settles himself next to me, but both the atmosphere and his demeanor are noticeably different from when I first came in. He seems far more comfortable with me now. Who would have guessed the secret to a vampire's heart is letting him show you his stuff?
It's time to do what we came here to do.
Ilyas is staring at me with hunger in his eyes, but it's not the sort of hunger featured extensively in my Mothman self-insert fanfics. You know, the thirsty kind. The look in those golden eyes gives me the distinct impression that there's nothing but a sexy bloody death awaiting me here. That's because I insulted the Juegolads. Well, they're not golden anymore, are they? It's been fun. It really has. He smiles, baring his fangs to me. They look a lot longer than I remember. I oddly wonder if it's some kind of supernatural freakery that makes him extend when he's about to feed. Crap. I can hear every beat of your frightened little heart. He inhales, closing his eyes for just a moment as he takes in my scent. I can smell your fear. His eyes flick down to my lap and then return to my face. And your excitement. He draws his tongue across his teeth, his breathing beginning to pick up.
You're a smart little human, aren't you? You know how tonight ends.
Well, rip me, I lived a good long life with me in your bed. Ilyas laughs, but there's no sweet amusement in his tone. His expression only grows more twisted and frightening. Wrong. He moves before I can even register it. One massive fist grabbing my forearm and tossing me to the ground. He stands towering over me there on the floor. Even without his impressive height, I'd have to marvel at the sheer mass of him. That is, if my life wasn't currently flashing before my eyes.
Entertain me one last time, human.
Eek.
Let's see how far you can get before I paint the walls with your blood.
It's hard to formulate a response. I thought about this moment so often before now, but all of my little fantasies couldn't have prepared me for the reality of staring down the barrel of my own mortality. Beg? All I can do now is beg for my life. I thought I wouldn't mind if it was at the hands of a vampire like him, but I'm just not ready to die yet. Please don't do this, I don't want to die. Ilyas laughs, but it's clear my begging has the opposite effect from what I intended. He only seems to grow more savage, diving down and brutally crushing me against the ground. He's a mountain of a man no matter what. As I look up at him from the floor, he fills my vision in a way that makes me entirely hopeless. His chest heaves, his handsome face distorted into a monstrous visage that turns my body to ice. His golden eyes are now a piercing red and his expression is murderous.
Your fate was sealed the moment you entered our house, little rabbit.
Eek!
But you should have run anyway. Bet your ass would have looked so cute fleeing for your life.
Look, man, I just wanted to be friends. I didn't even have time to react when he dives down and sinks his teeth into my neck. The pain's intense, but then I can't feel much of anything else at all. As my vision tunnels, my gaze drifts to the Juegolads poster in the distance. Somewhere in the corner of my mind, I hear a few hazy notes of their #1 worldwide hit, Bang Bang Bang, and it brings a weak smile to my face as the light leaves my eyes. Of all the things to be the last thought in my mind. The freaking Juegolads death? You can even go out with a Bang Bang Bang. The Juegolads would be ashamed. Damn it! Man, there is one more that I want to get. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, instead of looking around his room, we pretend to be scared and then we touch his abs. From my minimal time with Ilyas, I have a sneaking suspicion that he appreciates when his victims are terrified of him. Why not give him exactly what he wants? I take a deep grounding breath and I prepare to act my little heart out. I back up just a bit on the bed, my hands grasping at the sheets. Ilyas's golden gaze flits from my hand to my face and his expression grows cruel.
Are you scared?
Whoa,
You should be.
man.
There's no one to save you from me. Not even Laurel and Valeria could stop me from killing you now.
Are we serious or is this just bedroom talk? I'm terrified, why shouldn't I be? You're the model of perfection, everything a vampire should be. A cold-blooded killer in the truest possible sense. I am really laying it on thick here, aren't I? The feral look on his face makes my heart race, though it's kinda hard to tell whether it's fear or excitement. I prefer the latter, of course, but I think I'm weirdly cool with either. Or both. I feel as if he notices every minute movement and change in my body, which seems to produce more interesting changes with him in turn. He opens his mouth in a low growl, and I can see his fangs seem so much longer, more threatening. If such a thing is even possible than they were before. You sure talk a lot for someone so scared. He rushes me suddenly, shoving me down against the mattress with a hand over my mouth. He grazes my neck with his fangs, making his way up to my ear before he dips his voice to a low, breathy whisper. If you're gonna spend your last moments talking so much, please make it count. Tell me what I truly want to hear. He takes his hand off my mouth, gazing down at me expectantly. his golden eyes shining. Your face is gorgeous, your titties are fat, and if I have to go out like this, at least I'll die having touched the world's most perfect abs. Ilyas's smile only grows crueler still.
But you haven't touched my abs.
Can I do it now? Before I go? Touch them! My heart pounds and my hands shake as I pry them from where I have a white knuckle grip on the bed sheets to pour up the hard plane of his stomach. Wow, wow. It's strange how cold his body is. Cold hands are one thing. The cold body is an entirely different experience. Outside all my blatant pandering, Ilyas truly is perfection. Like a marble statue come to life. Or death. If only I had time to savor the feel of him against my palm. His muscles contract as he takes a breath, a stuttered groan leaving him that turns into a growl, and he's sinking his teeth into my neck without another word. As my vision tunnels and my life ebbs, I can't quite make out the words, but it sounds as if he's saying,
You were almost there. My face is perfect, my titties are fat and perfect. But you had the abs right.
Dang it! You died, but at least you got to touch his abs. Alright, and this is the ending where we, do the thing, but he doesn't turn us into a vampire.
You're a smart little human, aren't you? You know how tonight ends.
With me in your bed? Well, you're already in my bed. Ilyas's golden gaze seems hotter than I remember. His eyelids low and his fangs biting into his plush bottom lip. He reaches up to take my chin between his thumb and forefinger, tilting my chin up to reveal more of my neck. His gaze sweeps across me, but it swiftly returns to my throat. For a moment, I'm not sure whether he means to devour me or, well, devour me. I don't have to wait long for an answer. His mouth makes contact. I'm shocked by the coolness of it compared to a human. So sweet. His voice is thickened with excitement.
Your little body is so soft and warm.
What? I feel his fangs drag over my neck, and a spike of fear jolts through me as I remember that I'm dealing with a vampire who would love nothing more than to devour me.
Worship me.
He pushes me downwards.
Tell me how beautiful you think I am.
His sweats leave absolutely nothing to the imagination. I can see that I'm about to be in for a long, hard night. Whoa! So somebody is absolutely slanging with his wimwam. Beautiful doesn't even begin to describe you. You're a freaking god. You're the most magnificent thing I've ever seen. No one, mortal or immortal, could even dream of coming close to you.
Tell me you've never seen a man as perfect as I am.
I haven't, and I never will. Not even if I live for 1,000 years. Longer. Ilyas laughs, baring his fangs in a smile that's equal parts hunger and excitement. He doesn't wait for any further compliments, lowering himself to kiss me.
Forgot what it's like to be with someone new. Can't wait any longer.
He joins me without ceremony. Being in his presence has forced me to contemplate my own mortality, but the way he holds me makes me feel more alive than I ever have. I feel as though he's avoiding biting me, even though he'd really like to.
That look on your face. It's like you don't know whether to scream my name or cry for help.
Well, there? His eyes have gone red again, his fangs lengthening.
I just wanna
Whoa! He doesn't bother to wait for my response, diving down to sink his fangs into my neck. I scream, but I'm not certain anymore whether it's from pain or excitement. Both, maybe. Then it all fades into the same sensation, my vision blackening at the edges before everything begins to melt away. Well, at least it came close. You've died of thirst. Damn it! Alright, and that is the end of my First Bite Ilyas playthrough. There are actually 26 death endings in this. However, a lot of them are just little variations rather than being super different. So I did end up getting the ones that were the most different from all the other ones. I honestly love this game. I feel like this game was what I first started with when I started properly creating visual novel content. And so it's really nice to come full circle and make a video on this now for you guys. So, we can all watch together and reminisce. And also for those who haven't seen Ilyas before, you get to experience him now. But I highly recommend purchasing the game so you can find all 26 endings. And also, you can also romance Laurel and Valeria as well, who are absolutely wonderful. I will definitely be covering the DLC because that one's very spicy and I love it. But thank you so much for experiencing the story with me. If you guys like this, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. And also, if you guys want to hang out outside of these videos, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. Feel free to come over and hang out. But thank you so much again. I'll see you guys in the next video, and until next time, take care.